Hi, and welcome to One Life Matters, the podcast that reminds you that your life is worth living with purpose, joy, and authenticity. I'm Trish, a counsellor and life coach, and I'll be sharing down-to-earth conversations, insights, and tools to help you navigate the ups and downs of life. Whether you're healing from the past, finding your confidence, or simply wanting to feel more at peace with yourself, this is your space. Because you only get one life, and it truly matters. Just before we get into this episode, I just want to mention that this podcast is for general information, insight, and reflection only. It's not a substitute for personal therapy, counselling, or medical advice. As we hurtle towards the time of year when many of us are starting to set resolutions, this episode invites a more honest and realistic conversation about what it really means to achieve a goal, particularly those fitness goals that seem to be at the top of the hit list for change. I am absolutely stoked to have a very, very special guest join me on One Life Matters today. And that's my gorgeous dear friend of 20 years. And she said I wasn't allowed to say two decades.
No.
Because she thinks it makes us sound too old. I own my oldness. I'm okay with my aging.
I'm not quite ready.
No, not quite yet. So yes, my dear friend of 20 years, bikini athlete and champion, personal trainer, and owner of Stanner's Gym, mother to 3 wonderful kids, and amazing partner to Lee, Rachel Taylor. And Rachel is often asked what it takes to get a body like hers. Now, I know on the surface it can look like confidence, discipline, and motivation, but beneath that is a far more complex reality involving mindset, consistency, sacrifice, nervous system regulation, and a deep understanding why we set goals in the first place. Together, Rachel and I are going to explore the realities behind achieving physical goals, particularly in fitness, and how comparison, social media, and unrealistic expectations can leave people feeling like they failed before they've even begun. Now, this isn't about discouraging ambition or goals, absolutely not. However, it is about setting ones that are sustainable, self-respecting, and rooted in care rather than punishment. We'll be talking about the emotional and psychological cost of chasing an external outcome, how easily this can tip into disordered eating or brutal self-criticism, and why goals that come from worthiness rather than shame tend to last. If you've ever set a resolution full of hope only to feel disappointed weeks later, this episode offers a kinder, more honest lens and a reminder that progress isn't about looking a certain way, but about building a relationship with yourself that you can actually live inside. So, Rachel, hello.
Hey, babes.
Hey. I've introduced you as a bikini athlete.
Oh, God.
I know. And, well, at least I'm introducing you as a bikini athlete.
There's so many more things you can introduce me as.
I'm usually telling people, I've been telling people for years, oh yeah, my mate, she's a bodybuilder who looks brilliant in a bikini. So yeah, just tell everybody, what is a bikini athlete?
So to kind of give it an overview, a bikini athlete is a competitor in a bikini division under a bodybuilding federation.
Mm-hmm.
The IFBB, which is the International Federation of Bodybuilding and Fitness, is the main federation that I compete in. There are others, but the IFBB is the biggest, and it's the road to the Olympia, which is the biggest bodybuilding show in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a scary one.
Yeah.
But yeah, me as an athlete, I get judged on my overall physique, my appearance, my balance, my symmetry, in regards to like my proportions of my muscularity on my shoulders, my waist, the development of my glutes and legs. And then obviously I need to have that stage presence, which often comes with having a certain charisma and posing in a certain way.
So I've seen you pose so many times in the gym. I've seen you walk around in like...
those bloody 4-inch heels.
Are they only 4 inches? I swear, at least they're 10.
They're
Surely
4.5.
And are they glass heels, or am I imagining that?
Well, plastic.
Am I just thinking of that nightclub, is it?
They look like, they do look like stripper heels. They definitely could get used.
Spearmint rhinos.
That's old school, Trish.
Yeah, I know, I am old school.
But yeah, so the heels, the bikini is what sets you off as well.
Yeah. And you make all your bikinis, don't you? They're
do
just
now.
incredible.
Yeah, I do now because they're so costly, those bikinis.
Yeah.
They're
How
really
much are they?
They're like, well, you can get some around £300, but if you want a decent bikini that's bespoke made to your measurements, you're probably looking at around £400 or £500.
So we're not talking about beach bikinis, are we? These are a different kind of, and they're all encrusted, aren't they? And they leave nothing, hardly anything to the imagination.
That's very true.
Right. Absolutely. Brilliant.
So with all that, having that stage presence, it isn't just a few weeks to get there. We're talking lifestyle change. My training, my cardio, my nutrition is all on point, not just for like that 12-week of prep. That's literally day in, day out.
Yeah. And I do feel qualified actually to be able to say this as your friend, that I've been alongside you, and you're such a bitch when you're in prep.
Oh,
I mean, honestly,
nice.
I love you, but as like I said, I hate you at the same time. You're just so different.
It's difficult.
You can't even walk in a straight line when you're literally like a week to 3 weeks away. It feels like it steps up and it just affects every aspect.
It's a real mental battle.
Yeah.
I would say for me personally, the diet is quite hard.
Yeah.
The training is easy, but it's maintaining the diet outside in your general day-to-day life. It can be quite difficult and challenging, and it's not for everybody.
No.
It is an extreme dieting phase that I go through, and it's not a real healthy phase, but it's something that I tend to find that I can do.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it would be great to get into the more emotional side of that later. But I also know that you've had the concerns of how it might affect the family and things like that, because you're trying to cope.
Yes, it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's really hard. You find, especially because I've got 3 kids as well.
Yeah.
I work full time. I've got the business and Lee and family. So it's trying to juggle everything, but still find time for me.
Yeah.
And my me is my fitness.
Yes.
That is what kind of grounds me and centers me. So I find as long as I can keep building a better version of me, it makes me then a better working partner, a better business owner, a better mum, a better friend.
Brilliant.
Gives me those skill sets.
Yeah.
So that's why it's been so important in my life, and that's why I do it.
And I completely forget sometimes that you work full time on top of everything else.
Yeah.
You work full time.
I
honestly don't know how you do it.
I don't know how I do it. I don't know. It's my circle. It's my circle of people that really, really help. Mentally, it can be really, really challenging. So that's why I call on the support of friends like yourself, Lee, even sort of my children.
Yes, of course.
Because they're really understanding of everything. When you think to yourself, you're just constantly eating out of Tupperware. I always try to make sure that I do those small little changes where if I'm eating Tupperware, at least I'm sitting at the table when the children are having their meal and I'll sit there and eat at the same time.
So it's more about your presence than eating the same thing off the plate.
It's those small little wins. It's not about those big challenges. It's getting those small little minutes that you can.
Yeah.
But it is a very selfish sport.
And are you aware of, you call it like selfish, I like to think of it as more sort of self-focused, but are you aware of the effects it has on those around you, and how would that affect you? I know that you say, I want to be able to sit with my kids, and even though I'm eating out of the tub and I'm still with them.
Yeah.
Is that something that comes to you very sort of naturally? Do you have to dig really deep to think, how is this affecting everybody else? Is it something that's always beside you, in that, oh God, this is really having an effect on X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, it's a battle in your mind daily.
Yeah.
It is a real presence. And I can only say retrospectively, when you look back on yourself and you've actually gone through those days and you've ticked those boxes and you've come over those challenges, that it then empowers you to know moving forward that I can do it. If I can do that, if I can still successfully raise 3 children in the best way possible,
Brilliant.
Own my home, manage a business, work full time, look after 2 dogs and a Lee Stanworth as well, then I'm not doing too badly.
And you're my therapist as well.
And Trishy's therapist. But yeah, it's like it's understanding what you've been able to do as well.
Yeah.
Like sitting with it and understanding like, yeah, actually, I might not have won that show or I might have come third in that case. But when I actually look at my physique and then look at the challenges that were in my life leading up to that, I'm like, yeah, that's still a win. Because through that process, I actually had that to deal with as well. So you go over those hurdles and you're like, yeah, I won that. I won that.
And, listening to you say that, the small wins, which are just so important, but I think that they are very often overlooked by people who, not just competitors, but in general, in all walks of life, whatever you're trying to achieve and gain and, whatever you're focused on, if you see yourself as not winning, if you see yourself, and I'm not saying you're not winning, what I'm saying is the way that you see your progress.
Yeah.
Because even stepping backwards, it sounds like that's progression in itself. If you can look back, think, okay, what do I need to do? How do I change things so that I'm not going backwards all the time?
Yeah.
But I can imagine that must be very difficult in what you do if you don't see progress.
Yeah, it is difficult.
Are there times when you just despair, as we all do, and think, this isn't working. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm just not getting anywhere with this.
Yeah. But I look at I don't see failure because I just see a lesson.
Brilliant.
So
absolutely right.
It is really just about taking that lesson and really learning from that and then moving forward. And then if there's still another failure, okay, that's another lesson. Let's keep tweaking things until we get to where we want to be.
I think that's such great advice to give anybody who's listening to this, who's like a bit stuck, has plateaued, who's quite hard on themselves, has that be perfect driver.
Yeah, it can be. And it can be exhausting.
Absolutely.
Like having that mentality, because I've been there. Yeah. I've been there where it's been a case of like, I'm not seeing the results I want to see, or I'm not moving in the direction I want to move to. So you're kind of thinking, I've got to look like this. I've got to be like this. I've got to do this. But then you're just not seeing the results. And it's like, right, okay, what do I need to change? Looking and sitting with yourself and thinking, right, okay, X, Y, and Z are not matching up. Let's just slightly tweak things, but then having that support network to be able to be with you and be like, okay, why don't you do this? Why don't you try this?
So you've kind of given us a little bit of an insight of the tremendous hard bloody work it is. I mean, it just sounds, and I've seen it. No, I've seen it. And, for anybody who's been scrolling through my posts lately or for the last week, and I really hope you have, you've seen the evidence. We're talking photos of Rachel's absolutely phenomenal, chiseled out of granite physique. And I don't know how I can hate someone and love someone all at the same time so much. I really don't. But I also think it's quite easy and very tempting to kind of look at those images and be incredibly inspired, which is perfectly natural. And for people just to decide that they're going to make bikini athlete as part of their New Year's resolution. And we all have that little voice, don't we, that whispers, yeah, I could totally look like that by May if I cut down on the carbs and lift a few weights. I knew you'd jump in there. I'm just reading you in here. What have you got to say about that?
I'm just going to mention about carbs. Like, we just don't macros are important and there is no macro that's one more important than the other. Okay. So I wouldn't say we cut carbs. I just say we monitor our macros very well.
I think we could do a whole podcast on
that. Could be a completely different podcast. That would, yeah.
And the thing is also, I mean, I'm not saying that this level of fitness isn't achievable. I mean, you're living proof that you can do almost anything if you go about it the right way. However, with the whole New Year, New Me tidal wave fast approaching, today is about much needed splash of cold, hard reality, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And like I mentioned before, we're going on a very honest, occasionally hysterical journey into the vast and crucial difference between a lifestyle body, the one that enjoys wine and Percy pigs at the weekends.
Yeah, that's not me.
No, I know. It's enough about me. Okay. And a competition body that has you drinking BCAAs instead of alcohol and eating pre-made tubs of chicken and rice at special occasions. But we won't talk about that, will we, Rachel? Is that a memory best forgotten? In the bin.
Let's not talk.
So, it's just interesting, I think, And I think especially with the trends of everyone seems to want to compete.
Oh God,
Am I right in saying
it's
that?
such a popular thing.
I mean, even I've dabbled with it, and then thank you so much, my darling, because you've shown me, fuck that. There's just no way I'm doing that. I got to walk in a straight line. I've got to have my head about me when I'm counselling. There was just no way. So that level of complete and utter dedication, I'm going to say the consistency, persistency and repetition, that you have shown year after year. It's the kind of commitment, I think, that most of us will probably never experience in our lifetime, but we set out to at least try or think, yeah, I can do that. So, I've known you, Rach, way before you were collecting trophies and rocking those bikinis and those 10-inch heels. I can't believe they're only 4-inch.
Just stripper heels. Let's just call them stripper heels.
Stripper heels, that's it. And I know that fitness has always been right up there for you in levels of importance. You've always had a great body. You've always had a body to die for. But what I'm interested in, I'm sure everybody else is, was there a defining moment when you looked in the mirror and thought, you know what? I'm going to take this to the next level. This isn't enough for me. And I'm going to dedicate my life to becoming this ridiculously perfect, shimmering bikini champion goddess that you really have created for yourself. You've chiseled yourself to be that. Because, like I said, I think there's an awful lot of people that have the intention, which is wonderful, and they want to focus, and maybe until mid-February they're doing great, but then the reality sets in when your nervous system is saying, okay, you've had your playtime now, I want to go back to what's familiar. This isn't right for me, and it gets really tough. Am I on the right path here? Can it be like that?
Honestly, it is so hard. And it was something that I would never ever thought that I would do in a million years. It's only really because my partner was competing himself many years ago.
I remember Lee when he was just a skinny little thing.
Yeah. And now he's just a fatty.
Well, I don't know. He's more like the Rock of Gibraltar. But let's not, oh dear. He really...
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a fair few years ago. I can't remember now. I want to say like 15 years ago when he first got on stage. And I'd go and obviously support him at shows.
Yeah.
I'd see these bikini athletes on stage. And I would honestly think to myself, oh my God, they look phenomenal. Never in a million years would I ever do it. I just couldn't see myself doing it.
Right.
And that went on for a few years. I'd see these girls in their 20s looking phenomenal. And then there was a little position that happened in my life when I got a cancer scare.
Yeah.
And that kind of hit me quite hard.
Yeah.
And it also kind of then coming out through that gave me that little, well, what the fuck? What the fuck's the worst that could happen kind of attitude. And I, scrolling through social media, ended up seeing this little post to win a competition bikini. And we know that they're really expensive.
Yeah.
400 or 500 quid. So I thought, sod it, enter it. What's the worst that could happen?
Do you feel though, if I could just, interrupt you there, do you feel that without that scare, you would have been so enthusiastic to give it a go?
I don't know.
It's an impossible question to answer, isn't it?
It's really hard to know. But what I do know is that it did give me a little bit of a kick.
Bring your mortality more into focus.
It gave me a little bit of kick. So whether it would have been getting on stage or pushing myself in another area, I can see myself probably progressing into something. I think I would have. But I think winning the bikini, having that kind of what's the worst that could happen mentality, those two things collided, and then I got on stage and the rest is history sort of thing.
Can you remember your first time? Were you shitting a brick?
I shit my brick now. Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Like I did an international show last year. And I was on a stage in Italy, 38 other competitors, like this phenomenal stage. I'm like a fucking deer in headlight.
Oh my goodness.
Honestly.
Yeah.
You're up against some of the best amateurs in the world and you're just putting yourself out there. But then I think to myself, again, what's the worst that could happen?
And do you think they probably feel like that as well? I
I
mean, we're
think-
all very good at covering up our fear, aren't we, of putting this persona and this mask on? But I just wonder whether or not they're in exactly the same boat as you.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, we have to portray ourselves a certain way on stage.
Of
I
course.
think everybody, when you're sat backstage with all these women in these
Yeah.
bikinis, you do kind of get a lot of camaraderie.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of like-minded people that have gone through quite a hellish journey, like yourself, that you can kind of really resonate with.
Yeah.
So
Is that bonding going?
yeah,
between
so you do
you?
get a
Yes.
lot of that backstage, which
Yeah.
is fantastic. But I still really struggle with imposter syndrome.
Okay.
I still really feel like,
What's that about for you?
I just think I'm still not good enough or worthy enough to be doing what I do.
And is this something that you see as a bit of a pattern? And guys, I'm not going into a therapy session here. We've had plenty of
those.
But is this a trait? Is this a pattern for you where if it's something you really want to achieve, you get this, oh no, this isn't my place, or I just can't do this, I'm not good enough, and why me?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. It could be because I push myself to those really big stages against, and I set the bar so high, not with just competing, but with like what I want to achieve with business, what I want to achieve with just my house.
Yeah.
Or even if it comes down to the way the screensaver looks on my phone, I just want a luscious, I just, want to have the best.
And why shouldn't you have that for yourself? And I think that we all can relate to that imposter syndrome, and it's a state of mind that makes you feel a certain way. And I've always said to my clients, feelings aren't facts.
No.
Don't lean into the narrative, but try and understand that feeling.
Yeah.
What is it telling you? Where is that deficit between where you are now, where you want to be? What is going on in that grey area that you can become aware of and maybe try and recognize and overcome certain barriers?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you do. You
Yeah.
carry on despite this imposter syndrome, which I know you well enough to, and I hope it's okay for me to say this, I know at times it's crippling for you.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
But you also know that it is a state of mind. It's not a fact. And you are very good at telling yourself a healthier narrative.
Yeah, it does help. And I think what really helps is I always look back on what I've achieved and the wins.
Yes.
And, that helps to get me through the fire each time.
That's wonderful.
Because, I've done that. So I'm setting the bar this little bit higher.
Yeah.
And then I'll go through that and I'll be like, oh, I actually got through that and that wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
So I set the bar a little bit higher again and I go through that one. And I just keep,
right?
Yeah, it's just all those baby steps.
Is there, or has there been a time though, Rach, when you haven't achieved something that you so set your heart on?
Oh my goodness. I've failed so many times.
Yeah.
I really, really have. And it's really hard to sit with that and think to myself because I hoped that I could achieve more.
And I guess with the whole compare and despair culture that we live in as well.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Like we compare. I mean, that's what we're on stage to do. You've got 4, 5, 6 judges and you've got a string load of athletes up on stage to all be compared against.
And I think that runs in life, doesn't it? With social media and everything, in every walk of life, it seems to be, as I said, culture of compare and despair. And you have this great saying about comparing.
Yeah, so comparison is the thief of joy.
I love that.
Is basically
thief of joy.
Yeah,
isn't that the truth?
It is so true, and I really feel like the only real comparison you need to make is against yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
And you will look into yourself, and you'll probably find actually what I was doing last year, I'm actually doing that little bit more. It only needs to be 1%, doesn't it? It doesn't need to be a huge achievement. Like it can be the simplest of things to help build you and bring you to the next one.
And what's your views on role models, for instance? Do you have a role model, apart from me, of course?
Apart from you, Trish. I'm just trying to think, do I have role models?
In what you do? We talk about compare and despair, and I think role models can be wonderful if they're healthy and you don't use that role modeling in a negative or toxic way.
I mean, I tend to look at role models through, not through my world of fitness, but people that inspire me in everyday life. And it would generally be people like, I would say my daughter's overcome quite a huge health scare and problem, and she's dealt with it, even with the crippling anxiety that she suffered. She's dealt with it and gone through, and the empowerment that woman has now is phenomenal. My mum is a role model. She has got some great stories of life that I think are phenomenal, and I drive from that. I feed off of that. And she's a strong, badass female. I love powerful females. And that power doesn't have to come from physically showing it or being a certain arrogant type. That power can be in any way, shape or form.
Do you feel that there's an element of control over that whole, the badass sort of strong woman? I mean, there's an illusion of control, isn't there? And I think what I'm interested in, how certain like resolutions, for instance, they can provide a sense of order and direction when life feels chaotic, especially coming up to the new year when it's all been a bit hectic and, you know, with the festivities and what have you. But do you think there's a downside to that control?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, there's good and bad in everything, I believe. And I think there's a little bit of balance that you need to find. You're never going to have those scales tilting perfectly.
No.
It's always going to be ever so slightly up, ever so slightly down. Or it might be all the way up or all the way down. And it's about how you manage that balance.
I think that perhaps just quite a healthy mindset, a healthy outlook on life, and also knowing where your limitations are. And like you rightly said, that self-respect almost of, don't focus on something you feel that you failed at. Look how far you've come. And that kind of whole self-compassion and kindness and just being gentle with yourself. But I think I'm very familiar with self-punishment, with what I've heard from clients, and even times myself, you know, where I've just pushed myself, because so many of us are conditioned to respond to discomfort by being so harsh with ourselves, and those extreme goals that almost feel, especially after you may have overindulged. And this kind of leads me into the whole eating disorder that I talk about, you know, with this, any extreme goals, there can be that other side that creates really toxic, damaging behaviors, if you like, disordered behaviors.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to obviously focus on what you do. So are you quite familiar with either yourself, which obviously you don't have to talk about, or others that actually develop eating disorders, binge eating disorders, where they will abstain from eating? I mean, is that quite prevalent?
I mean, I have definitely been in that world myself, and I definitely am aware of plenty of people that have or had unhealthy relationships with food. It's do you know what? It's a very, very common thing. So common for anybody, not just competing athletes, but for anybody looking to better themselves physique wise. You tend to find that their struggles with food, or they think the answer is at the bottom of a double bag of crisps, or, you know, it's understanding that sometimes food isn't obviously the solution, and it's finding what is actually the roots of what's causing you to go there in the first place.
And while you're really aware of the pitfalls, the downfalls of this industry, and I think that we can apply this to anything really, can't we?
Absolutely.
And I know that eating disorders, especially when it comes to wanting to lose weight and wanting to have a particular image or physique, is just so prevalent, isn't it? And I know I've seen you lots of times in quite in-depth conversation with certain members, and you never share anything and I never ask you, but I have seen that. And do you feel okay just to kind of share without, obviously, I know confidentiality is really important to you, but can you kind of just share as to whether there is anything quite general that members will come to you with, that's a bit of a problem for them?
Do you know what? I would say that a lot of members, you'll be surprised at the amount of that struggle with mental health in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be an extreme version of a slight anxiety, stresses in life. That can include eating disorders, honestly. And coming to the gym and having fitness as part of their staple diet can really, really help empower people and give them that little bit that they need. And it might just be a conversation that they have with another member.
Yeah.
It could be an in-depth, heartfelt overload with myself or Lee or any of the team. And you'll be amazed at how much that can make a person's day.
You know, I have to say that I haven't ever been to a gym quite like yours, especially for the community, because everybody just gets on. Everyone, it's almost like we're all misfits, but we fit there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there is that whole kind of, you're always welcome. There's never any ego battles going on.
No.
Everybody's so helpful. Everybody takes time to say hello. I mean, it's just a real lovely place. It feels safe. It feels like home.
Yeah.
It really is wonderful. And I think when we talk about mental health and fitness and everything, I think it is so important to have that safe place to go to where also you're working towards a goal as well.
Yeah.
So if that goal is to get a little fitter, if that goal is to maybe lose some weight or just feel good about yourself, you know, I'm very much about the whole motion before emotion, because God knows there's been times when I've woken up and I thought, I can't face it today. I can't do this today.
We've all been there.
Yeah, right?
We've all been there.
And I pull my backside out of bed and I just get in that and I never regret it.
Yeah.
But the added thing about Stanners is that everyone's so warm and welcoming. You know, I've never experienced that before. And that I know for my own mental health is so wonderful because you feel part of something. You feel you belong. You feel connected.
Yeah.
It's almost like you've found your tribe in that aspect of your life.
Yeah.
And that is so important when it comes to mental health and, you know, physical exercise or wanting to get fitter, is just knowing that you're not on your own.
Yeah.
Definitely feel like I have a tribe there.
Yeah. And it's very much a case of like coming into, I mean, any fitness establishment, it should be a case of you walk in, nobody knows that person's journey.
No.
Nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors. So any judgment, especially at our gym, any judgment is completely thrown out.
Yeah.
It's not even visible there at all. And everybody has got their own fitness journey to follow, whether that be a bodybuilding journey or whether that be just, I want to make my ass look as massive as possible, or I want to just lose a few kilos, or I want to go in there because it makes me headstrong to be able to deal with the rest of my day.
Yeah.
And all of those journeys are just as important. Yeah. There is no one journey that's more important than anybody else's.
I quite agree. And like I said, for me, I've never experienced that before. So it was such an added bonus. And I fell in love with the Stairmaster. Who knew?
Who knew?
Who freaking knew?
Your sweaty little face on that Stairmaster.
Honestly, it's a love affair that I never expected. So, and I get really possessive over it. Other people are going to be listening to this now and say, God, don't go near the
Stairmaster.
It's mine. But yeah, it is so, all those aspects, as you said, they're just as important as each other.
Yeah.
You know, I feel that we could talk about this all day. There's so many things I know that we haven't covered yet, which is really, really sad because we are going to have to wrap up soon. But before we do, could you offer a couple of healthy resolutions instead of punishing ones, such as focusing on emotional and mental health as much as physical and setting achievable habits and goals, building self-belief instead of self-criticism, and how to nourish and not punish? What do you say?
Oh, do you know what? It's so easy for us to punish ourselves and
we've done it, haven't we?
Set those unrealistic, unachievable goals. We're setting ourselves up to fail.
And making us so miserable in the process.
Yeah. And it becomes quite stressful, the fact that we've not achieved what we set ourselves out to do. But there are small little things. What I would say is find your why. At the end of the year, if you want to set yourself those new goals, why? Why do you want the goal?
Absolutely.
Write it down, put it on a pin board. If you've got a picture of a physique that you're looking to achieve at some point, put that on a board as a bit of motivation. Have a vision board, and then put down those small achievable ones, whether it might be the importance of sleep. So underrated, so important.
Right, so sleep's way up there, isn't it?
Sleep is really up there.
Yeah.
And if you can just get yourself some better sleep, it can really set yourself up for better days ahead.
Brilliant.
The same with like for fitness. If it's about kind of building yourself, the importance of weight training for females especially, and for males, but weight training is so important. It can really make a difference with your bone density, your metabolism, your mood and function. It's so many benefits.
Absolutely.
And it's just about, I'd say, being consistent.
Yeah.
And you need to have the small little goals set up, be consistent in those, and what you will find is that you've reached your bigger goal without even realizing.
Absolutely, just those little tiny increments make a massive change. And I think what's also important is just being kind to yourself a little bit, because if you're too harsh on yourself, I think it just feeds back into that negative loop of I'm no good, I'm never going to make it, I'm not good enough. Imposter syndrome comes in, all of those elements, right?
Absolutely. And you also need to look back and reflect before you set your new goals. It's also remembering about the year that you've had.
Yes.
And I do this with my little girl, and we always...
Our little girl.
It is ours.
Yeah, guys, I have to say, Rachel's little girl, I consider us both as kind of we're parenting.
We're mamas. we are mamas together, raising a strong, badass human. That's true.
Amazing.
But we do. What we do throughout the year, each week, we have a little post-it note. We write down something that we might have enjoyed, something that we think we did well at, or something that we think we actually achieved, and we'll write that down. That could be the most minimalist of things. I'm sure Emmy's put something down about eating something that I made her eat, or something that she's tried, or it could be anything perhaps football related for her, or there's so many different things. And at the end of the year, we go through those folded little bits of post-it notes and we just read them out of all the little things that we've gone through. And it's also, it then sets us up thinking, okay, we've achieved and done all that throughout the last year.
Yeah.
Now let's think about all the little things that we could possibly do throughout the next year.
I think that's wonderful. A wonderful bit of advice to give to listeners out there who are struggling.
I would say it's small. The smaller wins.
Exactly
Absolutely.
that. With consistency, persistency, and repetition, as CPR.
Without a doubt.
Right.
Yeah.
So perhaps as we move into a season where goals and resolutions are everywhere, this is your reminder that achievement doesn't have to come from pressure or comparison or self-punishment. Real lasting change grows from understanding yourself, listening to your body, and choosing goals that support your nervous system rather than overwhelm it. You don't need to become someone else to be worthy of success. You're allowed to build goals that fit the life and body you already live in. And that's good enough. Rachel, thank you so much for joining me on One Life Matters today. I'm sure people are going to listen to this and take such great inspiration. And will you come back again?
I'll come back again.
What shall we make the next one about?
I'm just happy to chit chat.
We do it so well.
I was going to say, we could talk about it. There's so much. There's so many stories we've not shared.
Yeah, but, absolutely.
It's
maybe
been
you
great.
can come back and we can do that sometime.
I've loved it, hon. I've loved it.
But I personally want to thank you for Stannis Gym.
Thank you.
Lifetime Gym. Thank you.
It's the people that make it, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I'm sure we want to wish all the listeners a happy Christmas and just be mindful of those New Year's resolutions, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for joining me on One Life Matters. If today's episode spoke to you, I'd love you to subscribe and maybe share it with someone who might need it too. And remember, you only get one life, so make it one that truly matters. Until next time, take care of yourself.